Stereo Madness. Geometry Dash, first level. It's probably the first level we've all played. And since it is, back then, we didn't know too much about the game. But since it was the first level and had the lowest score, we all thought that it was just the easiest level in the game. And well, you're not far from the truth. It is definitely not the hardest level in the game. But it's also not the easiest level in the game. Despite what the text might tell you, today we are going to take a dive beneath the common sense and explore 2 reasons why Stereo Madness is actually a harder level than you might think. Enjoy. Now, do you remember when you first played Stereo Madness? It was probably the first level you played. And back then, you probably didn't have much experience and didn't really know how to be good at Geometry Dash. So, it's likely that you failed a bunch of times on Stereo Madness before you eventually learned how the game mechanics worked and beat the level. And that brings us to the first learning point. Stereo Madness is about you being able to learn the game's controls and mechanics. It's not about being as easy as possible or as hard as possible. It's more of a tutorial level. And because of that, it's not the easiest. Because when you're playing it, you're not familiarized with the game yet. Which means you don't really understand how it works. So you would probably not be as good at it as other levels. After you complete Stereo Madness and move on to other harder levels, you'll understand how the game mechanics work, and therefore, most likely, you will beat the next level, which is Back on Track, faster than the time you took to beat Stereo Madness. And that is something to consider. Coins are a feature of Geometry Dash that is meant to be a secret. Not many players can get all the coins in the game because the coins are meant to be an extra challenge after you already beat the specific level. And to truly beat a level entirely, you'll need to collect the coins. Well, you see, in earlier levels, coins are generally more straightforward. They're usually visible from the ground up, and you'll be able to get them with pretty much ease. But that's not the case for Stereo Madness. You see, Stereo Madness is all about learning game mechanics, and coins is part of that. The first coin is relatively easy to get, and teaches you some good basics about actually getting coins, and where they will be. It's under one of the bridges, after the rocket part. Well, because the first coin is pretty straightforward, you'll most likely imagine that all the coins in Stereo Madness will be that straightforward. But you're definitely wrong. The third coin in Stereo Madness is not that straightforward. It requires you to go through a very specific brick in the second rocket part that you probably won't even be able to realize without actually looking really, really careful or just watching a YouTube video about it. There's a reason why if you 3 coin Stereo Madness, you get a badge and a new icon. It's because Stereo Madness is harder than you think. And that's exactly why I'm recording this video, to show you why Stereo Madness is harder than you think. And while you guys think it's pretty unethical to throw in a stupidly hard coin on the easiest level in the game, you have to think about it. Stereo Madness is not the easiest level in the game. Actually, it's quite far from that, as my first point described, which means this is basically just RobTop indicating that, well, you see, Stereo Madness isn't supposed to be a challenge. It's supposed to be a level that teaches you some important basics about the game. In order to record this next part of the video, I invited some friends onto Discord, and they're gonna say what they think about Stereo Madness, and specifically the difficulty of the last coin, how hard it is to get. Okay, so Justin, why do you think Stereo Madness is one of the harder levels in Geometry Dash?
That's the wrong question. It is the hardest level in Geometry Dash.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, why is it the hardest level in Geometry Dash?
Well, it's the hardest because it's the first. Anything that's the first coming in any game is obviously the hardest. It gives you the most time to learn, and it teaches you basically everything about the game. Let's take Geometry Dash. If you play this game, like, ever, you will probably not complete Stereo Madness the first time. And everyone is gonna play Stereo Madness. It's synonymous with Geometry Dash. I think that if you're gonna start going on without playing Stereo Madness, you're a psychopath.
Alright, thanks for the response, Justin. Alright, let's go to the next person now. Alright, thank you. Hey, Erwin, what's good? Okay, I want you to tell me, why do you think that Stereo Madness is a hard level in Geometry Dash?
Shut the fuck up, I don't have, okay, Stereo Madness is fucking gay, okay? Let me explain my thought process when saying I will, beat up the person that made Stereo Madness. Sorab. You know why? Stereo Madness is the gayest thing to ever known a man, bro. Let me tell you how fucking gay it is. It's more gay than a $5 bill, okay? It's gayer than your mama. And you know why it's gay? Because of the fucking lag, bro. I can't even jump 2 feet without my FPS going to 0. Like, what the fuck? Fix your game.
Okay, thanks for your very good response. That wasn't very family friendly. Probably, TOS, Erwin, you gotta follow it, but okay. Alright. So, what do we learn? Well, first of all, we learned that, well, you see, games are not supposed to make sense. In fact, Geometry Dash is one of the games that make more sense out of all games, and the difficulty of Stereo Madness still doesn't make sense. So, next time you try to play a game, maybe use some more critical thinking instead of just picking which level you see and you think is the easiest. Second point that we learned: never judge a book by its cover. I know that sounds hella cliche, but that's just a fact. You know, I was playing Stereo Madness at once, and I just couldn't figure out where the last coin was. And well, a lot of people were like me. And it took me a long time to actually figure out where the last coin was. And you might be like me and not know where the last coin is. And for you who don't know where the last coin is, my best bet is, if you don't know anything about Geometry Dash level, watch a YouTube video on it. I swear it's gonna help. Alright, that's the main takeaway.